not supposed to say nada.
Welcome to Stew and The Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors: Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinupsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stewandthenunn.com. That's right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Stew and the Nunn. Let me roll the mic up here. And hello, Toby. How you doing, brother, from the Southern Studio?
Well, you know, like living the dream, my dude. I'm like trying to get the social media like wizardry going here, you know, because, you know, we kind of have a cool show tonight. So, like, I want to make sure everyone knows what's going down.
That we do. Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on you.
No. Like, my toes hurt, but no big deal.
Yeah.
It's good to be live and alive with you, my man. You know, I think we're appropriately socially distancing, utilizing the appropriate.
Wait, I gotta come over this way from you. There we go.
The actual real of social distancing since 2000, whenever Skype became a thing.
Yep.
The originals, that should be their motto right now. Someone should pick me up as a marketing guy and be like, Skype, the original social distancer.
Yeah.
You know, keeping deployments legit since whatever the established, you know, anyway. But no, it's good to be hollering at you, my dude. I know you're up there in the worst state of the union right now. You know, I miss you. I love you. But, you know, the governor of Texas is like, fuck New York. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, my mom's
your
listening.
Mom. I mean,
yeah.
Mom.
Not only the governor of Texas, the governor of Florida said the same thing. If you're from New York, which honestly, I think they've really felt that way anyways. If you're from New York or New Jersey, can you stay away like 2 more weeks? Like, we really don't want you around here.
Yeah, and if you do come, like, don't talk to anybody. Like, if you could not admit that you're here, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's it. No, it's I just heard about that today, that they blocked or they're asking people to quarantine themselves coming from crappy states in the Northeast for like 2 weeks. That'd be really good if they did that.
Yeah.
So
if you could like move to the basement,
yeah,
that'd be great.
They want New York and New Jersey to take they took the red stapler, right? That's pretty much what they've done. They're
taking their traveler's checks to a competing resort.
Yes.
But let's get after it, man. We have an awesome show tonight. We have actually we have some goals that we have to meet tonight. We have a standard. We have a guidon that has to be retrieved.
Jeez, really?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Like our guest tonight, allegedly, is a shitty interview, and we're gonna change that.
Yeah.
Because we have. I've got the power. you know, like CNC Music Factory, you know, back in the day. We like what you're wearing, the uniform from back in the day, which we're going to get to in a
We're going to get to that. People are probably wondering why I've taken it back.
Yeah, keeping the Chips Ahoy alive.
Yes.
We have a great guest tonight. We are going to change his reputation. We're going to change his outlook tonight because he's an amazing man. He's a mountain among men, living on a mountain currently because he's too good for the low ground. He had to take the moral high ground. My man.
I think he knew something was coming. He got out of town.
Yeah, no, he was like, "What's up? Social isolating? It sounds like something I need to do ahead of the curve." He does a lot of things ahead of the curve. In 1993, my man joined the great fraternity in the world, infantry, the Army infantry, that is.
Yep.
Where he ripped in and became a member of a small but illustrious unit. And I'm not talking about the Marines. I'm talking about the 75th Ranger Regiment. That's right. He was 3rd Battalion. And then
the world of high and tights and cordons.
Yeah, you know, like, and because that wasn't challenging enough, he was like, I just want to become the baddest, you know, rescue guy in the world. And so he then went through the entire Superman complex and became a pararescueman. No big deal. 2-time badass. You know, we only hear about this a few times. Every now and then you'll get guys like, you know, I don't know, Goggins, I guess, or, you know, that dude that's currently a Navy SEAL and an astronaut. But basically, you know, Will's legit. He's translated that into doing really cool things with voice. Let's just bring him up. Come on.
Here we go. Here he comes, everybody. Welcome, Mr. Wil Willis to Stew and The Nunn. What's up, buddy? So we were talking before the show. Will and I go kind of way back. We figured it out. It's about 11 years ago. That's how long I've been doing this show for, actually not this show, online shows. So Will was a guest on an old show you served long time ago. It was on, and that you were on a number of times, Toby, that you helped guest host on and stuff. That kind of what started us going. Back when he was just, you know, he was just a reality TV star before it even became. I mean, I'm surprised you weren't on The Bachelor, dude. Really.
It would have been a disaster.
Like, you're a crier, you suck, you're mean.
I am a crier. I cry.
No, I meant you'd be saying that to the women, not them to you.
I feel everything very, very deeply. Anger, everything that I feel it harder than anybody else.
There's someone at CIF crying right now because, like, you didn't turn that watch cap in, and they're like, he got away with $4.96 of U.S. government money.
Yeah. Well, you know, I got.
You're like, but it touched my skin.
I got a poncho liner too.
If you were smart, you always kept the poncho liner. You always kept the poncho liner. That was the best.
Is worth any report of survey.
That was worth every bit of that $13.56 that I paid every single time I PCS'd. Yes.
Yeah, but when you're only making $256 a paycheck, that's a lot of dough.
But it is a whoopee. It is a whoopee. Just saying. The ultimate survival pack right there. But anyways, Will, welcome back. Welcome to the show, man. Good to have you.
Hey, thank you, man. And before we get too far in here, Toby, I just want to say this Skype thing, I figured it out for you. You ready? This is how you sell the Skype thing. Skype, keeping the socially distanced, socially connected, no matter the distance, since 2000 and whatever. There you go.
Wow.
That's
a big tag. That's a big tagline. That's a big.
I'm bringing out the good pen. Let me
you don't have this pen right here? Come on, Toby. Bottle opener and pen. And
check you.
You know what? My mother-in-law got me the best pen for Christmas. It like shatters windows, and I'm pretty sure you could stab 8 or 9 people to death with it.
I believe it is going to premiere in John Wick 4.
Probably. Yes. Absolutely. Well, hey, Will, you know, you've got quite a storied career. Toby started off, kind of talked about you going to the military. Why don't you kind of, if you could, give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a summary of kind of, you know, your military and kind of what some of the things that you've done since then. What makes Wil Willis Wil Willis?
Well, I mean, in 1993, I walked into my recruiter's office and I said, I want to blow shit up and shoot people in the face. And he showed me a Ranger Battalion video. And I said, yeah, that's it. That's the one. And you know, I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know really what I meant. I just knew that I was an angry kid who wanted to leave his town. So I got on an airplane and we headed to Fort Benning, Georgia, and I did the OSA training there, and then I did airborne school and R.I.P, and I went straight over to 3rd Ranger Battalion just a few months after Mogadishu had gone down. And there was a very electric attitude, you know, when I got there about new guys and how they should be treated. We, you know, in the training that we did, and just kind of frame of mind. And you know, I did that for 4 years, and while working in the battalion, we also worked with the pararescuemen. And I really dug the idea that these guys actually had a peacetime mission, because in the battalion it seemed like we were always getting alerted for, you know, to freaking count ammo or some shit like that. You know what I mean? It was in the 90s. You know what I mean? I think we got alerted like 5 times in 7 days to literally go count ammunition. And, you know, I didn't like that kind of stuff. So I went over to the pararescue thinking, you know, it was going to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more of what I wanted, a little bit more adrenaline filled, a little bit more pay. And I was right about all of those things, but, you know, I was wrong about a lot of other things too.
Yeah, because let's just go ahead and say where your first pararescue duty station was, because this is like the ultimate. You went from 375, post Mogadishu, to one of the hottest places in the globe for thermal water.
Yeah. Keflavik Naval Air Station is where I ended up being stationed. In Iceland.
Piss off, bro.
I was there for 2 years, and you know, as far as like doing civilian, like real world rescue, there was a very active unit and had been an active unit for decades. And so as far as like a pararescueman, you know, being able to do a full complement of like upgrade training that included like ice climbing and glacier travel and crevasse rescue and, you know, stuff that guys just couldn't get in the States unless they were in Alaska. You know, I mean, it was a great first duty station. And like the helicopter work, we worked so close with the helicopters there. I think that's where I really realized that pararescue is not, you know, it's not kicking indoors and all the great stuff that you know, maybe they had in the Ranger Battalion. It was a little bit different. It was a different mindset. You know, it was something that I had a love-hate relationship with.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Tony. I got to stick with Iceland for a little bit, because I think Iceland's one of the best kept secrets in the world.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I think it's one of the coolest places to go if you do extra dollars and you want to take a vacation that's going to inspire you, enlighten you, and let you check out something truly foreign, alien, if you will. Iceland's the spot. If you're a young single dude, you like CrossFit, that's the jam. Sarah Sigmund's daughter, Thor's daughter, anybody's daughter, Odin's daughter, Eric the Red's daughter. That's the spot. Get your squat on, get your Olympic lift on, go get in some thermals. But they have like some of the coolest thing, like Diamond Beach, and you know, like Iceland is actually one of the coolest spots, definitely the most unique spot on Earth. And you know, to make it there a couple of years is super cool, man. Like,
no, I mean, absolutely beautiful, and what a blessing it was, because that base ended up getting shut down. That Naval Air Station ended up getting shut down, I think, in 2007. So, you know, to be there for 2 years and to be able to see the country and do a lot of the stuff that we did, it was really a great experience.
Yeah, like you said, just with it being shut down, I mean, obviously people can go on their vacation, but man, just like everything, join the military and, you know, Uncle Sam will send you on vacations that people pay top dollar for, right? And,
you know what I tell people all the time, when you join the military, I mean, it is selfless service, but you can get some pretty selfish things out of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you're in Germany, take advantage of the MWR. Do all of the things that that the MWR offers. Go out and see all of those sites that you can readily see. A lot of people, they just don't want to do that kind of stuff, or they feel uncomfortable with it. But man, once you really start engaging with those types of services in the military, you can really have a good time. I wish I had done it more.
Yeah.
You know?
No, one of the wisest things, I'll make a really long story really short. Hadn't had a lot of experience with Asian food. The only Chinese or Asian restaurant in my small town as a kid was attached to a Greyhound bus station. My dad took me there one time. It was a pretty negative experience. And so for the rest of my life, I swore off Asian food. I came down on orders. I got the old Nasty Gram, and I was going to Korea.
Oh, yeah.
I called my dad up, and he's up in Canada living in the mountains, and I call him up and, I'm like, hey, Dad, good news and bad news. Good news is I'm still alive. The Army's keeping me. Bad news is they're sending me to Korea, and I'm probably going to die. And my dad's like, I don't know if you know this or not, but we understand that war's been over for a minute.
Yeah.
Where there's an armistice, you should be okay. I'm like, no, Dad, I'm going to die of starvation. What am I going to eat in Korea? And my dad told me this, and I'll never forget this. This is one of the wisest things he ever said, and one of my favorite memories of him was he was like, son, if I gave you $5,000 to go on a vacation, where would you go? And I started listing every cool surfing spot or place where chicks would have very little clothing on. I was like, and I was thinking about fishing. I was like, Costa Rica, Panama, Dominican Republic, Bahamas. I was like, where's there surf, fish, and women that can't wear much because the weather's just, demands that you can't wear much. And, my dad was like, all right, very shallow. Good job, Toby, for lacking moral content. Now, what if someone sent you somewhere and you could experience a new culture, learn about something completely different, and open your mind and better yourself as a human being? And I was like, yeah, Dad, that sounds cool. And he's like, the Army just did that for you. And I went to Korea, and I remember scared as shit of the food. And I wasn't off the plane 10 hours. And, I was like, the chow hall was closed, and they were like, the only place you guys can eat is the Katusa bar, the Korean, augmentee bar.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, Dad said, and it changed my life. I opened my mind, and then I spent a year and a half exploring that country in wild and crazy ways. And I'm like, my dad gave me such wisdom, and the Army does that. The military does that, not just the Army. The military does that for so many young men and women, and introduces them to what the world really and truly has to offer, what humanity has to offer. And it's amazing. We're so blessed.
Yeah.
It gives you a global perspective, right?
We're so blessed.
Community.
Where'd you
even if you never go overseas, you still get more of a sense of what's happening nationally than you do if you just stay in your local community.
Yeah.
What a better time to talk about that than what's going on right now, right?
Right.
Because right now you're like, oh, I feel so, but the world is experiencing this.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a blessing and so underrated. When someone says join the military, see the world, I'm like, you should.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should see the world.
So where did you?
I give different advice. I don't automatically tell her. I've told people straight up, the military would suck for you. You're not the person. You're not the guy. You're not the guy. You're nobody's going to want to debate with you about things. Nobody gives a shit that you don't want to shoot anybody. And I had a guy write me a note, and he thought that we were friends. I didn't like the guy. I didn't particularly care for him. I thought he was a little bit of a smarmy character. He's always looking for an angle.
Smarmy.
An angle to make a ton of dough really fast. He's the type of guy that'll sue you if he slips on your porch. You know what I mean?
Sounds like a chow thief. Sounds like a chow thief in Ranger School.
Yeah, freaking those mother. That happened to me. I fucking swear to God. I swear to God. There's a whole story. Anyway, this fucking guy, he's like, I want to go into the Coast Guard, you know, because I don't think that it's as aggressive as the Army or the Navy or anything like that. And then I was like, look, dude, like Coast Guard is running drug interdictions every freaking day. You know what I mean? Like these guys they're busy. You think because you go into the Coast Guard, you're freaking going to like just get some free ride in the GI Bill? My brother-in-law was in the Coast Guard. He ended up deployed to Iraq. You know what I mean? On a medical vessel. I never got deployed one time. I'm like a GI Joe still in the freaking wrapper sitting on the shelf. This guy's in the Coast Guard, and he goes, you know, so like, you know, I told this guy, it's like, it's not for you, kid. You're doing it for the wrong reason. You're doing it for the free ride. You know, I mean, most people that join the military, they want to engage. They want to do their duty. They want to do the things that they've been trained to do. You know what I mean? And not just for the service of their country, you know, serve your country, but to serve themselves as well. You know what I mean? I didn't join the military because it was a totally selfless act. There was selfishness in it. I wanted to prove myself to me. I wanted to prove everything that I ever thought about myself to myself. And the military had programs that allowed me to do that. Yeah. So there you go.
No. Okay. One, I love the honesty. All right. Because you and I, you know, we both came in the 90s. You got after it a couple years before me. I'm assuming we probably graduated high school around the same amount of time. But like, I think, you know, I took a couple, you know, extra years to smoke some weed and play some golf. But I think you got after it a little bit faster than I did. You know, we did join for like, you know, selfish reasons, you know, but, you know, there's a level of altruism to it as well, you know, because the selfishness is like, yeah, you want to serve, you want to do those things. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, people, they don't want to admit to that. You know, I remember being in high school and watching, you know, some of that Desert Storm stuff kick off and, you know, like the TV shows at the time, like A Different World and, you know, Cosby Show and stuff like that. You know, they were like, you know, injecting social issues into it and, you know, talking about like, I you know, I see at my college, you know, for the money. I never thought I'd go to war. It's like, you joined the war machine.
But you gotta admit, I mean, one thing you highlight is, and I think it's a good thing, Will, you mentioned is yes, we get into it. It is selfless service, but the military doesn't recruit you by saying, hey, just come on in, we'll find something for you to do. Right? No. It's dude jumping out of planes. It's people flying, you know, planes, doing this stuff. People shooting, driving tanks. It's like, hey, come in. You're going to get something out of this. That's, I mean,
we make choices. We make choices when we go in. Now, whether they're the most informed choices or not, you know, is always questionable. My son was on schedule to go into the Marine Corps on February 10th. He broke his collarbone. His collarbone, had to have surgery. He had surgery, I think, early December. All right. So it's going to take 8 weeks to heal from this surgery, minimum time. His recruiter starts freaking calling him a pussy because he doesn't want to ship out until he's 100%. So, like, I have a fucking problem with that. You know what I mean? And I told my son, I was like, look, dude, I was like, sometimes this is what it is. It's just about getting you to do what they want you to do regardless. You know what I mean? And so there are two sides to the military. On the other hand, I've been that guy. I've been that guy that coerced what I wanted out of somebody by berating them and calling them names and freaking questioning their strength and capabilities. You know what I mean? I've been that guy. I've been that guy that it's literally said, give me the fucking rock. If you can't carry it, I'll carry it.
Right. Now, because both of y'all, like my son, you know, he didn't join, but both of y'all, you know, your sons joined. Man, clavicle, not a good thing to be healing from. Like,
especially going on a ruck, you're going into basic training. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah. The drill sergeant, especially the Marine drill instructor, will be like, "Oh, you hurt? Oh, you broke your clav? Oh, that's just go sit over there by the water buffalo and just, you know."
I was like, "Look, dude, you don't want to be the guy that shows up to Marine Corps basic training 50%.
Right.
I don't care how freaking. No. Yeah, I mean, the kid looks like a skinned cheetah, but you know what I mean, like, you know. but at the same time, you don't want to show up 50% because when they see you, when they see like your body, they're going to try to crush you with everything they've got. And you're 50%. You're going to look like the weakest dick there.
No, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
No, like there's a lot of injuries. Like if you're like, my ankle's jacked or something like that, you can figure it out. Like you can figure it out. You can tie the laces tighter. You can, you can figure it out. Yeah. Clavicle's one of those things. On that. No, I mean, if you have the access to tape, you could do that. But clavicle is one of those things like you're just straight screwed, man. That's not going to work out for you.
Yeah.
The hey, so
we didn't get much farther past military time.
No, like
we got to Iceland, we stopped.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm sorry, I was trying to answer the phone and do a couple things at the same time. So before we started the show, I want everyone to understand. Like, Will confessed to us that he sucks at interviews, and I disagree. If you're the host of a hit television show and you've done the things in entertainment that you do, you actually don't suck at interviews. You just don't like doing them. So, no, keeping it real, we need to change that. So we're changing it tonight. We're changing the reputation tonight. So we're going to start with a couple different things. First and foremost, we want to talk about your Instagram and Twitter handle. Whiskey. So what are you drinking tonight?
I'm actually drinking. My wife made me some tea with honey in it.
Awkward. So I remember you putting the tea to your mouth beforehand. I was like, disrespect, man. It's a level of disrespect. All right, so let's change it up. I
give up on the whiskey, man. I had a Jameson night where I got stuck between the tire of an Uber and a curb.
Yeah, well, that's because you were drinking Jameson. Yeah. Come on, bro.
Let's just say that it was one of those nights where a close friend called me up and said, "I never want to hang out with you ever again."
That's a little strong.
Yeah,
that's a little strong.
You know what?
That's more than just a bad influence.
2009.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So a couple of years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, you and I were talking on the social, and you were actually over for. What are you doing? You a New Year's thing or something?
Where at?
You were in Ireland. What were you doing in Ireland a couple years ago?
I was in Ireland. I was actually so the History Channel they flew me to Ireland to host a 1 hour live interview with the cast of Vikings as part of their season premiere. Yeah, it was really cool, man. It was I was trying to remember what it was. I was like, I remember you and I talking on the socials about it. I think I sent in some questions or something like that, and it was kind of cool because they film over there. And yes,
so, you have a really good relationship with the History Channel.
I mean, I hope that I have a good relationship with the History Channel.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, the relationships, in this business are so strange. You can think that you have a great relationship, but it all comes down to numbers. It really does. Everything comes down to numbers and viewing and hitting the right numbers. I mean, so if you remember 2009, that Spec Ops mission that was on the military channel had great numbers for a demographic that wasn't specific to military channel. You know what I mean? So it just didn't work for that channel. So no matter how good or bad the show was, no matter how high it was rated, it just didn't fit. You know what I mean? So with History Channel, I really think that Forged in Fire found a great little niche, and it's been an incredible sort of experience. Yeah.
So let's talk about that real quick. Y'all do some cool stuff on the show. All right. I'm not going to pump it too much. Cool, man. No. The show as a whole. And when I say the show as a whole, because you challenge people to do things. And one of the things that always impresses me is, one of my favorite books growing up as a kid was called Suen Tetokin, which is about this young Sioux boy that, was hard of hearing, that was part of the Trail of Tears, and that, like he was really good at fashioning knives. And so like, that was his like role in the tribe, right? And so like the silent killer thing, this knife thing, it always like stuck with me. So as coming up, growing up, and then joining the military and being part of the military, knives and blades, this is always something that's been super cool. Not everybody that enjoys the military, not everyone that enjoys blade work understands and knows or has the knowledge base of some of the tools and implements that y'all are asking people to do. And like one of the things that's mind-blowing about this, I got this badass kid that served under us in the 1st of the 23rd Infantry. Shout out to my boy Carter, Oliver Carter. He makes tomahawks for us because we're the tomahawks. He makes great blades for us and stuff like that. But not everyone understands, other than very eclectic guys like him, these different weapon systems. And like y'all bring these to light and educate America on these things, with subject matter experts. And I remember like watching the show and be like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, what is that thing called? And I was like, did I see that on Star Trek? Is like some Klingon bringing that shit out? And it's like, it's a legit thing. And so not only are you like challenging guys to make like cool things, you're actually educating people on like different weapon systems, which is,
well, I mean, that would be the hope. Is that people are getting some sort of knowledge out of this. I mean, there's just the entertainment of fire, and anybody that's been to Ranger School or in the Ranger Battalion knows that the best TV is Ranger TV, and that's Ranger just TV. Fire. You want to hypnotize a crowd, just light a barrel on fire. But then what these guys are doing, the making of the knives and the swords, it's something that every culture can appreciate. There isn't a single culture on the face of the planet, except maybe some of these gluten-free tofu nuggets nowadays, that doesn't need a knife. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of them are looking. I think
ceramic Teflon knives now, but everybody understands the usefulness of a knife.
I think the gluten-free safe space people are actually been looking for them for the last couple of weeks. I think they've been trying to buy every bit of ammo, and they're wondering why they can't just buy guns on the internet like they were told they could. But I think
why do I got to do a background check?
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, everybody understands that, but more so than in the United States, even I think that there is an appreciation of bladed arms throughout the world. You know what I mean? If you think about every country, with the exception of the United States, has, or maybe North America, a long history with bladed weapons, swords and shields and armor and pikes and lances and all of this stuff. And like really the list of weapons goes on. Now we're having to learn a lot about some of these weapons as they're being made and as they're being used. About what the weapon systems were, because some of these weapons haven't been made or put into use in hundreds of years, really, or nobody's attempted to use them. So it's an interesting show in that way as well.
Well, anytime you get to cut a pig in half, right, and you get to just swing and cut a pig in half, it's just, who doesn't want to make something that can do that? Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, there's always an argument to be had when it comes to like the kill test. You know what I mean? Like, how does the pig have to be all the way in half to be dead? Really?
So this is the infantryman in me coming out, but part of me is like, I just want to be the fly on the wall, like during like those producer meetings and writer meetings, like where people are sitting around the table going like,
there are days I walk out of those meetings and I'm like, I'm fired for sure, because I don't get a vote. I don't vote. I don't vote on the weapons at all. The judges vote. And
but silently in your mind, you're like,
Doug Marcaida has threatened to stab me with his imaginary sword before. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm the person. I'm going to push. I'm going to ask the questions that nobody's asking. I'm going to ask the questions that nobody wants to answer. And if you seem like you're hung up, if you seem like you're on the fence about something, I'm just going to push and push and push until I make you so pissed that, like Doug, he threatens to stab me. So, I mean, all right. Now I believe you.
Yes. If it comes out where it's not imaginary and he's like, with this, right? If he's like, with this, it's like,
well,
okay, got it. But, so, I mean, you've, we went back. We started off, talking about your military time. You were in a Ranger Battalion. You went to, Pararescue, which is like you said. I want to I know I'm rewinding a little bit, but you said something I've been able to get in is that it never has been it is the elite of the Air Force, but it never has. It's not the door kicking of the Air Force. It is the ultimate military savior force, right? If I look at. If I look at what the missions of all of them do, that is the one that gets dropped in, put in, jumps in to the hardest places to get someone out or get something out, right? And that is when you talk about selfless service, right? You raised your hand to be in the Army, to go to Airborne school, go to Ranger school, then go and try to do that, and all the schools you had to agree to for that. I mean, that is an example of selfless service.
I had undiagnosed borderline personality disorder that craved adrenaline. You know what I mean? Well, that's the reality of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you crave adrenaline. One of my favorite things in the world, again, due to my dad, and you are a fan of this, and no one ever talks to you about this, and this is why you're a great interview. This is why we're going to be in your top 3. Let's talk motorcycles, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Come on now. Let's talk bikes.
Well, you know what? I don't love all bikes. I love my bikes. You know what I mean? If somebody wants to talk about their bike and all this horse shit, I don't care. I don't care about your Ducati. I don't care about anybody's
why
Kawasaki Ninja. Bro? I had a buddy like do you have a Ducati?
He does, yes.
I got 3 of them, fucker.
Yeah, I got a 03, 07, 09
I got a 1966
Frankenstein thing. It's called the Frankenbike. It's tried to kill me like 5 times. If it wasn't for that bike, my wife and I wouldn't even be married. I just started it up. I just got the carburetor changed last week, and then I've still got that Triumph Thruxton that I raffled off. And Al, what's his nuts? I sent this guy emails. I did everything I could to reach out for this guy. I've still got this Thruxton that's going to be raffled off when I premiere my documentary, hopefully later this year.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Minus the disrespect to the Ducatis, because I love Ducatis because my dad raced for them. All right, he spent a little time. He raced on a little island in between England and Ireland on a Ducati. It's a legit relationship. I got a 1966. If I
own the Ducati, I would be all about that fucking Ducati.
Yeah, no, So I got a little love for him, but I got a little love for BSAs. Got a little love for Triumph. All right, because. I got a little love for Nortons because this is what I grew up around. My dad, that was the influence that I had on me, and I've seen that influence in you. I've seen those you don't ride the typical bike. That's why I'm I got a little bit of love for it, and I got a little bit of respect for it. You got a documentary coming out.
Yeah.
You're still trying to unload this bike. You got Deuce. You got 2 of them.
Well, I'm wrapping up production on a documentary that I did under the Monkey Fist Films banner with my wife and a producing partner, Tony Bartolini, out of New York, and then
We'll talk about it. Tell us.
And then I've got the veteran documentary that it's been the hardest thing in the world to do. I mean, the veteran one, just because I don't like a lot of the things that I see, from me in that documentary. It's hard to sit there and watch yourself, 2 years later, even going through an emotional shift. You know what I mean? Like going through, kind of this journey where you rediscovered a part of yourself and let go of a lot of things at the same time. So it's been the hardest thing in the world to edit. I got it down to a good 58 minutes, but it's raw, dude. It's so gnarly.
But hey, here's the thing: is that is the greatest thing about our community, and anyone that, I feel like I should put one of them signs, argue with me or whatever, like prove me wrong or whatever.
My mind,
we should sit down and what is it, Troy?
Change my mind.
Change my mind. Yeah. No, yeah. The greatest thing about our community is we all do this one thing. In your case, we do it twice, and twice as good as everybody else, so fuck you. And then then we have to do something else. And that transition from that point to the point where you're at, oh man, it is one of the greatest challenges that we face.
Well, it's not even something else. It's something else's.
Yes.
You're going to have this job, and you're going to have this job, and you're going to have this job, you're going to get fired from this job because people don't like the way you talk to them.
Right. No, and that's the thing. Is like, we all understand that because we all experience it. We all look at life through that lens. And that's, I think, one of the things that makes you a very important voice in our community is, because you've kind of dealt with that and you've been honest about it.
Well, I mean, the hardest thing to be is honest with yourself. And when you talk about being an important voice in the community, I'm going to be very real with you, man. My military service was a disappointment to me. You know what I mean? As far as like I couldn't keep my mouth shut about the things that I didn't like. I was in trouble for things that I was doing off duty more than I was ever in trouble for anything that I did on duty. I let my family fall apart. I let my marriage fall apart. I ended up being, geographically dislocated from my sons for a large period of their life. It took me a long time to recover from myself, and my military service. And like I said, we make a lot of the choices that we make, and you have to live with those choices. But when I tell you that I feel like a G.I. Joe that never got out of the box, I do. And, I'm never going to be the voice that the veteran community really needs, to speak up for them. And that voice needs to be somebody who understands exactly what it is that these guys are going through downrange. And I've never endorsed a politician before in my life, and I'm not from Texas, but I like that Dan Crenshaw.
See, there you go.
Solid. Yeah, absolutely solid.
I think that he's a solid guy. I think that he thinks about what he says before he says it. I'm not that way. You know what I mean? So I respect him. I respect his service. I respect him as a voice for the veteran community. Me, I was a douchebag. I was a douchebag in the military. I was the guy that did a pretty good job at work, but if you really wanted to turn it up on Friday night, go find Willis. He freaking turn it up with you.
Hey,
and that's the real deal, man.
No, and I'm about to throw it back at you because here's the deal. Let's be honest with ourselves since we're talking about honesty. Everyone that puts on the uniform, minus the uniform that Troy's wearing right now, because very few can wear that in this lifespan. Everyone that dons uniform wants to think of themselves in this higher light. And that's just not being realistic. That's not being honest with ourselves. That's not. You represent, just due to 1099s or whatever, like the Air Force calls graduation tickets, a very special group. And as a result of representing that very special group, not everyone makes it through RIP. All right? A lot of people end up in worldwide. A lot of people end up in the gulag. A lot of people end up in the 82nd. Just keeping it real.
Which is like the gulag for many.
Yeah. Just saying. You represent a good portion of what's good. And a lot of what happens in the military community is not great. And a lot of people that are in the military community, and let's be honest with each other, in the 90 percentile of what's in the military community is not spectacular. All right? And myself included. I don't got those chops. I don't have that. I'm just a guy. I was a guy that went to Fort Benning School for Boys. I barely made it through. I got lucky a couple of times in my career. Right place, right time. wipe my ass at the right moment in time that no one saw that I shit myself, whatever. It is what it is. Like, you still represent a good portion, and you still lead towards what is appropriate in terms of behavior, and you still experience like that transition, and that successful transition is what is so important. It really doesn't matter, and let like everyone knows, and we haven't talked about combat, and you're the very first guy to say I don't have combat time. It's not about combat. It's about taking this education, taking this experience, taking this lens at which you look at things, and then applying it to real life,
to the rest of your life,
and you've actually successfully done that. Now I know you're looking at it going like, well, I failed at this, I failed at that, I didn't get this show, show sucked. Like, you're actually doing a good job.
I mean, dream, or somebody, dream your dream. Somebody brought this point up earlier. It might have been Tom Segura, the comedian.
Ooh, Tom.
But like, dream your dream. Whatever it was. My dream was to be an Army Ranger. My dream was to be an Air Force Pararescue. And I thought that I was gonna, do great things. I was like the distinguished honor graduate of my pararescue class. I really had my sights set on like doing some real stuff. And when that didn't happen, it was tough for me. And getting out and going in the direction that I did, I mean, things didn't turn out the way that I thought they were going to. However, I cannot complain and say that I'm not proud of what I did in the military. Good. Okay, I can be disappointed in me, but nobody else gets to be fucking disappointed in me. You know what I mean? I can be disappointed in me, and that's my own internal thing. But like, nobody else gets to be. Go fuck yourself. Like, your experience is yours, and mine's mine.
Well, we're our worst critic. Right, we're our worst critic. We hold most people that are need for achievement people hold ourselves to a higher bar than anyone else ever will. People will look and say, "You did great there," and we walk away. God, I could have done that a little bit better, right?
Yeah. We could. And I am the most critical. I will criticize the way that you're holding a fork at dinner if it seems unusual. I will say that's not the standard.
So if you're holding like a backhoe and you're just shoveling it in. Like, that's not acceptable.
Reciting the Ranger Creed.
I've got a spare moment to just evaluate somebody making coffee. I will evaluate to an imaginary standard your ability to make coffee. At the end of it, I'm like, that was a shitty performance. You didn't hit any of the marks.
That's why you're a great host. There's everywhere you go is a judgment zone. I love it. You don't do well in a fitness night or in a what's that gym? What's that gym that there's a no judgment zone?
Oh yeah. No, I'm going to judge you. I'll judge you. I had to be a personal trainer for a while when I was in college. You know what I mean? I went and got my NASM certification. I worked at a gym as a trainer in between TV shows. Going to college full time, teaching tactical emergency trauma care. I mean, look, we all struggle. We do what we got to do. But like, here's the thing: when you work at a gym, you just judge everybody. Everybody that walks through the door, you're like, you look like. Even if you look amazing, you look like shit.
You look like you skip leg day.
Yeah.
So I also got to give you a shout out because like probably your best video is probably the video that you're like least proud of, right?
Which one is that?
And you're like, hey, it's a triple CT, video, and you're like, this is how you like get a guy in the fireman's carry.
No, I made that video.
No, that's a great video.
I made that video.
The reason I say it's like least proud is you're like, I taught an amazing class. I gave all this information out, and all you got out of it is like, I can do a combat role, and a guy comes up on my shoulders. Yeah. But that's like one of your best watched videos.
Yeah, you know what? I wish that YouTube would pay me for that. I don't know what's happening. I've never seen a dime of any of that money. It's kind of like Forrest Gump with the. You know what I mean? I haven't seen a dime of any of that. But yeah, I mean, look, I taught TCCC for a while, and that carry is something that was very specific to me. I love to teach guys, especially hard chargers, that carry, and we just happened to be slick that day. It wasn't even a full-blown Marine Corps tactics class. That was just a executive protection class. Guys are going through an EP course. And I was just doing some instructing, TCCC instructing for them. But you could do that moving kit. Everybody's like, I'd like to see you do that full armor. No, I want to see like 2 full suits of like freaking armor with swords and shit, and like do it like that.
No, like I actually like my boy Doc Simpson's probably gonna text me right now and like talk shit to me, but no, like because he's not a fan of the fireman's carry, and I get it as a doctor, like that causes additional injury, but man, like you picked like the biggest boy in that little circle on the grass, like you picked the biggest boy, and you're like, oh, I can get you. And
I mean, because if you don't pick the biggest guy,
you're a bitch. Yeah, no, you pick the biggest boy.
Shit. Everybody talks shit if you don't pick the big. And then I picked the biggest guy, and what everybody say? I'd like to see you do that with kit on. You know how many times? Yeah. Hundreds of times I've done that with full kit on.
Haters gonna hate. No, but you did. You got the biggest guy, and I was like, that's what I'm. Because in the back of my mind, I was like, this is gonna go bad. This is gonna go bad. And then it you were like, you executed it perfectly, and I was like, well, I was actually taught that. And
I should have put something to the effect of "Don't try this at home," because I don't know if you've seen any of the videos of people trying that at home.
Yeah, they're actually very entertaining.
It's tragic.
Is it really?
They skip right to advanced. You know what I mean?
Luckily, you haven't gotten sued on that one yet either. That one come in. So I want to kind of hit on that documentary. You mentioned the 2 documentaries, but the veterans documentary. Is there anything you can enlighten our viewers and listeners a little bit about that? What's the story? I mean, obviously documentaries are going towards a narrative and a story they're trying to get out. What is the message you're trying to get out with it?
Well, the message that I was trying to get out is just, I didn't even know what I was chasing at first. I mean, I just knew that I was having problems, and I have problems in my regular job with like communication with people. And I have a tendency to put give a lot more weight to the things that I'm working on. Literally, people have told me at work, like, who fucking cares? Like, because I'll argue something. I love to argue, and I love for everything's got to be justified to me. If you're making a decision, it's got to be the right decision, and you've got to weigh all the things, and I never want to send the wrong guy home, and I just get really passionate about things. But I was having a problem just interacting with some people, and I decided that I just needed to get on a motorcycle and go, man.
Yes.
I didn't know where I was going.
You're a big bear.
I watched Crocodile Dundee, and he said, I was watching Crocodile Dundee in my hotel room, and this guy says he's going walkabout. And I was like, well, what's that? And then it's just a journey that a guy takes where he figures himself out, figures out what kind of guy he's going to be. And I don't think that I had ever really taken any time to myself to really figure out, like, who I was going to be. I mean, great, you're Wil Willis TV show host, you're Army Ranger and Air Force Pararescue member, but what does all that mean if you don't really like yourself? So, I hopped on a bike, and I wanted to talk to some other people who maybe, felt I could connect with. So I linked up with some veterans along the way. And in linking up with veterans and talking to these guys, I made some social connections that I hadn't had in a long time. You know what I mean? People that had gone through military service. And I didn't serve with any of them. Not a single one of them did I actually. Well, Donnie Fields I met in Chicago just for an afternoon. But everybody else was just somebody else that happened to serve. And it did so much good for me to talk to these other people and how they were coping with their transitions out of the military that it really made me start to forgive myself for being a douchebag in the military. You know what I mean? I was able to forgive myself for a lot of things, and I was able to just be like, okay, well, that's your past and it's something to be proud of, but how does that inform your future? What's the next right step? You know what I mean? What's the next thing to do? And I think that I just kind of I drew a line in the sand, and I said, I'm going to go back to the person that I always wanted to be, that I put on a pedestal. I can be that person. I can be that person that I joined the military to be. I'm just more informed now. I can be, I can be the protector of of everything that I believe in but like of my home, of my family, of I just really made my life about me and my family instead of whatever's going on in the world, and that did me a world of good. I mean, I had to fix the things that I could fix first before I got concerned with anything outside of my personal bubble, and that documentary helped me to do that.
No, it's so interesting that you're invoking Paul Hogan, and the famous line from Crocodile Dundee, because Paul Hogan in that film, like, he was really truly trying to bring light to the Aborigines of Australia, and bring light and honor to their culture.
Yeah.
And a big part of that culture is that coming of age, that walkabout, like that self-discovery. And what a beautiful thing that is, that we have that, or they had that self-discovery built into that culture. And for us, like, I felt the only way that I could have that self-discovery was by joining the military. And it sounds like you and I kind of share in that, as well as Troy, and as well as hundreds of thousands of others that do that.
Really self-discovery. That wasn't really self-discovery to me. That was me discovering how to be a soldier with a bunch of other guys that were, on a mission.
It's the fundamental questions. Like I joined to answer those questions. You didn't. Your experience was a little bit different. Like, you were like, I still need to answer these questions. You answered them through people that you knew were trying to answer that question.
Yeah.
And that's the journey, right? That's the point A to B, the C, whatever you want to call it. But, like, who'd have thought Paul Hogan would have been the influence of that, right?
Oh, well, man, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I mean, it's easy to overcomplicate your life. You know what I mean? With a lot of thoughts, a lot of negative thoughts, especially veterans. You know what I mean? It's easy to get caught up in our head and relive things over and over and over again. And a lot of the successful guys that I've talked to, the guys who really have gone through some real trauma and come out of it okay on the other end, they've learned how to forgive themselves, for themselves, and they've learned how to, kind of move forward, take what they learned, but like kind of leave the negative stuff in the past and not relive that stuff over and over again. I mean, I questioned everything that I ever effed up in my entire career. I would just relive it over and over and over in my head. If I ever had a disagreement with somebody, I would relive it over and over and over. I couldn't let things go. I had to always circle back and, like, be better, re-engage, be right, and I fought a lot of battles, with my own demons. And I think that's what that documentary is all about. And I think it's something that other guys can kind of connect to.
Yeah, that's that part. I want to real quick, Toby. You mentioned about, we were talking earlier, and you were talking about Will's service, and even though he didn't serve in combat, the voice of the community, veteran community. That's what it's about. It's that they served, they did their time, you got the experience. How do you take that and use that for a positive going forward? Some people, it takes a while. Some people, they got to get on a bike and go, right? Some people have to go through some really low points. We all know that people go really low and they come out better on the backside, right? That's the old saying, that what doesn't kill us, makes us stronger. But even though your service, in your opinion, I think others, the awards that you racked up, the things you did in the military, the schools and the jobs you did are far above and beyond 98, 99% of what most ever do in the military. But even your service, taking that, and then now it is, I'm sure, I have no doubt, I don't have to ask you this, I'm sure I know the answer because I know how Toby is and me, is we all look back to that time and credit it for what we have accomplished today. Maybe, right? And the interpersonal skills, the conflict resolution, dealing with people, worrying about really what's important and not important, all that other crap. That all comes back from that. And you're showing, hey, you don't have to, it bugged me when I retired out of I was infantry the whole time too. When I got out of active duty infantry, people were like, you going to go be a cop? I'm like, why? Well, you're infantry. You got to be a cop, right? I'm like, really? How many cops? Like, what are you talking about? How many cops just go around shooting people just because they carry a gun? Yeah. It bugged the shit out of me. I went into IT. I went into computers. And people were like, how'd you get into doing this from the infantry and jumping out of planes? I'm like, the technical skills has nothing to do with it. There's so much more to that service. I
don't have any actual skills. I mean, I have skills, but like not where I could sit behind a desk and like accomplish anything. You know what I mean? I don't have hands-on practical skills. Like you're bleeding, I can do something about that. You're stuck in a tree, I can probably get you down. You're down in a cave, I don't know, you lost something at the bottom of the lake here, I can scuba dive down there and I can get it for you. Like
solid skill.
I can handle those kinds of things. Skills. But like everyday problems like plumbing, I got to call a guy.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Well, we all need to.
Yeah. Like I pulled roots out. I don't know what to do after that. I pulled out roots.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, it's good for what you do on Forged in Fire. I mean, when one of those blades comes flying out and hits somebody, you're probably the guy there to put a tourniquet on him real quick, right?
Oh man, like you have no idea how many. There's real safety and there's imaginary safety.
Don't peel the onion back on this.
Well, I was watching an episode yesterday where a young lady, how much one it was.
No, man, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Look.
You
Forged in Fire. It's dangerous. Doug Marcaida almost lacerated his femoral artery last year. My freaking head almost came off. You know what I mean? No. Doug Marcaida's brother, when Doug was injured from another thing, cut his fingers off, man. Had to have surgery. There's bad things that happen. We're messing around with real weapons. Make no mistake. Like, there's things happening, and tension is high on set when these guys are using these weapons.
Yeah. That's why I say it's a good thing you're probably there. But I did see the episode where you picked it up and you were like, "There's nothing." I forgot how you use it. There's nothing connecting the handle to the knife. You're like, this ain't gonna work. Like, we're not even gonna swing this thing, But
you try to. These guys come in and they're trying to do something that is really a tough task. You know what I mean? And then to be judged against three other guys that are trying to accomplish the same tough task. I give them a lot of credit, but at the same time, if you turn in a metal turd, you turn in a metal turd. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you gave it your best shot, and today wasn't your day. I tell them all. I talk to all the guys before they start the actual competition. I go, I meet them, I have my donut, I have my coffee. I'm like, welcome to the television show Forged in Fire. It is a TV show. It is a competition reality show, and at the end of this, one of you is going to get 10 grand, and three of you are going to lose. There's going to be more losers than winners, but have fun while you're here anyway. You know what I mean? You got to look at it that way.
What you got, Toby?
So while they're like stuffing their face and you're stuffing your face at craft services.
Oh, they don't eat.
They don't get to eat.
Dude, like
it's like who's the murderer? Who's the murderer? Put a plate of food in there. The guy that's eating, he's gonna win. That's the guy.
It's funny. The what's a good memory of that? Like what's a I don't like hearing that because my dad was a machinist by trade. He became a machinist because he was all about trying to make motorcycles faster, lighter, and stronger. And like one of the very first things, he was all about metallurgy. I grew up with one of the. I was raised by a single dad. One of the baddest, metal shops you could ever imagine was my house. I was like, "Hey, Dad, I need some shoes for basketball." He's like, "That's irrelevant in the real world." And he's like, "You need to learn how to put things." I was like, "What if I wanted to put pegs on my motorcycle?" He's like, "Well, we have a lathe. Let's start there." What is like one of your best memories? Because you talked about some things that weren't.
Jason Knight chopping coconuts. The very first strength test I think that Jason Knight did in season 3 of Forged in Fire. This guy had like a row of coconuts. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, Jason, hit each coconut one time. That's what he gets briefed, and he's got his knife and he's ready to go, man. And this guy just went down the line and he hit all the coconuts and then he came back for a couple of more. You know what I mean? He just got so excited that I don't know. It's one of my favorite moments.
Whack-a-mole. Just
yeah, man. Like just to see, like when the judges get really excited about a blade, and you can tell that their precision with it, those are some great moments. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Neil Kamamura, Neil Kamamura is a bladesmith out of Hawaii. He came on, and he had only been making knives for 8 months, but he'd been making knives every day for 8 months. And he watched Jay Nielsen's DVDs, and he showed up on the show, and he won. And I mean, he became basically a big hero to, the Big Island in Kona. And then he took all of his winnings and he put it into traveling the country and visiting all of these knife makers that he'd met and he'd learned heard from. And he learned how to make knives with them. And he made his way all the way to Jason Knight. Now he's making knives. I mean, the guy's unbelievable. Where he has taken his passion for knife making, along with battling his own depression issues, and he talks to veterans about this stuff, and where he is now, I think those are the great moments for me. Somebody that elevates knife making in a way that touches people that would otherwise have never ever touched it before. You know what I mean? That's what I love about this show, are those inspirational moments where somebody can take just making a knife to another level, you know what I mean? And those are special moments to me.
Well, and that's the thing, is like when you identify, and it doesn't matter what the artisan, the craftsman, it doesn't matter the trade, the genre, when you identify actual passion, and when you see when people react to passion, I see it with mixed martial artists, I see it with, bladesmiths, you see it with, man, I can see with an accountant.
Yeah.
Like when you see that actual passion for your trade or for what God has called you to be good at, and you like get after it. Yeah. I mean, like really get after it, where you're like, I'm partners in a screen printing and embroidery shop, and we had this gentleman that worked for us, and he actually traveled the country trying to be the best screen printer. And if anyone else would listen to this, they'd be like, the guy aspired to be a screen printer. I'm like, yeah. Like, he traveled across the country to learn how to be the best screen printer that he could be.
Well,
and that's so inspiring to me, because like he had so much passion in one thing that he wanted to like learn from the best, be one of the best, and produce something so unique, so artistic, so passionate, that when that thing came off the pallet, the platen, I mean, it was like a baby was born. And he would look at it, and he'd put it on the dryer, it'd go through the conveyor belt, it'd come out, the ink was cured, he'd pick it up. Oh, shit. Like, I was expecting a little finger to like touch it, like, because I love that. I absolutely love that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I recently started getting into editing my own. I turned over my documentary to an editor who did a great job. But then at the same time, I kind of wanted to get my own hands on it. I like to tell stories. I like writing. I went to college for screenwriting. I love a great story. And at the end of it, I decided just to edit my documentary, to take it from my editor and start working on it on my own to get what I wanted out of it. And I'm very meticulous. I sit down, I get lost in my own world. And it's kind of like the samurai encouraged like getting into poetry or painting or some art to counterbalance that warrior ethos that you have. You know what I mean? For all of that yin, you had to have the yang. And for me, I think that finding, a creative outlet was a big deal. And knife making can be that creative outlet for a lot of people. Hell, I go out and I make knives. I've got my Chevy Nova in the garage that I like to work on. I think that Forged in Fire has helped to put people's hands back to work. People are interested in making things with their hands again. And it's turned into other things that people want to make with their hands. I mean, there was a craft show that came out on network television that had Nick Offerman as the host, and it was like Craft Masters or something like that. And now you've got Lego Masters where these guys are building things, and you've got all of these cake shows. But it's really what you're showing with the Ink Masters and all that is just like human creativity. You're just showing people make things with their hands, and then it should inspire you to make things, or that's what we do. We make things. If you drive through New York City, like all of those buildings, they look just like the termite mounds in Africa. You know what I'm talking about? Like we make shit. That's what we do. We make things. Yeah. We use our hands to make things, and we need to continue to do that. And otherwise, I mean, what the hell are we doing, man? Right. We're just social distancing ourselves from one another.
Killing time.
That's it. It's all now it's all about social distancing. Hey, well, Will, you know, you've given us a good hour tonight plus, and we're really appreciative, and we don't want to abuse any more time, but want to know, is there anything we didn't hit on, we didn't talk about, that you'd like our listeners and viewers to know? Any departing words or just topics that are passionate to you that you want to let everyone know about?
Well, you know, love your families. You know, that's the most important thing. Brothers and sisters, you know, they're the family that I guess the universe gave you. So reach out to them, tell people that you love them. And if you're thinking about somebody, that's probably a good time to give them a call, I guess. But other than that, I respect all you military sons of bitches that are out there. I love you, you heathen bastards. I was one of you. And I don't always understand us. Nobody will always understand us, but you know, we've got each other.
Yeah.
When can we get our hands on this doc?
The documentary it's still in the final editing processes. I wanted to be able to put it out. There was a film festival locally here at the end of May, but it looks like with everything that's going on, I'm going to be pushing it to later in the year, probably August time frame.
Hey,
but I'm not very active on the social media, and like I said, the veteran documentary is something that I've been taking my time with. I'm the only, you know, it's very personal is all, you know. But the other documentary is going to be out probably a lot sooner.
Hey, so let's make a deal.
Okay.
We're still trying to get in your top 5, bro. All right. Okay. You know, I believe tonight's been a good audition. I believe that we are going to change you. We're going to turn you into one of the best interviews in America.
Okay.
And
I think our fans and viewers and listeners kind of agreeing to that already. We got to let some good comments.
No, like all the shit.
We didn't even get into politics yet.
No,
out the window.
We didn't even get into politics.
Let me tell you how Jesus came back to life.
All right. Hey, so when your doc drops, we want to have you back on, and we want to blow it up, and we want to talk about it some more, and we want to be part of the spark. The film is going to be the spark. We want to be the oxygen that lets that forge and ignite, take hold, and let them flames set in. Because we love what we're doing, we love everything about you, and we want to be part of pushing you, bro.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Let's have you back, but you got to let us see that doc, and let's be part of the team that helps make it famous.
All right, cool, man.
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, hey, Will.
ain't gonna be a Restrepo. You know what I mean?
It's a good one. There's a lot of good ones out there, but you know what? Every one of them has a different message, and they're meant for sometimes a different audience or an audience on different topics. The same audience, right? And absolutely. But no, man, it's great having you on. Good to see you again. It's been a while. I know it's not going to be as long again. It's good to see you besides just watching you on the big screen and talking to you and see it. Like you say, your brutal honesty, you're opening up. I think that appealed to a lot of our people watching tonight. I mean, you know, a lot of folks that come out of Hollywood, come out of shows, right? They put up that persona. I don't think anyone here gets that impression from you, right? You lay it all out there. So people, if that's what we need, that's what we need. And your message at the end about if you're thinking of someone, call them and treating people well and caring about family and all, it's phenomenal. But hey, thank you so much, Will. We'll stay in touch, brother. And
thanks, man.
And you have a good night, man.
You guys take care. Thanks a lot for having me. I hope to be back soon.
Oh, absolutely. Take it easy, bud.
All
right, everybody. That was Wil Willis. Let me see here. Let me do my text, my thing here. Well, you can. Yeah, you dropped. There we go. Okay, good. All right. So I didn't mean good, but I was going to have to redo some video. Hey, what a dude. Well, I mean,
I love that guy, man. I love him.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite Americans.
That is as honest as they come. I mean,
yeah, I love it.
You know, you flip on, you go through history, like, oh, Forge of Fire, and there's something you can just hit and like, oh, I'll just leave this on, even if it's background. Like, I just look over and swallow. What are they making, right? Oh, that person's blade's bending. Too bad, you know. And then he gets on there and just like starts sharpshooting him, and hearing how he's so judgmental. I'm like, that dude was made for that show. Like,
no, like, and well, here's the thing: is he's actually made to do good things, and like, so a lot of people don't understand, and you know, like. I don't like fanboying and, you know, doing all that, but I just want to put some things in perspective. The infantry you and I both served in, it's a tough calling. She's a mean mistress. That's why she's the queen of battle. Ooh. You know, and to like right off the start be like, I don't only want to date the queen. I want to be like her real full-time side piece. I'm gonna be in Ranger Regiment. Like, you know, back in the day, going through RIP, and imagine going through RIP coming out of Mogadishu. And
not just going through RIP.
Gonna go into 375.
Going into that battalion with that slick sleeve.
Oh man, like you know, like dude, the guy's got brass. The guy's got brass in his shorts, and then he's like, oh, you know what, like this is cool and all, but I'm going to miss out on a war, but I really want to do something great for humanity. Who's got the best humanitarian? Pararescue, PJs. Let me go be. And there's a reason why they call it Superman.
That is one of the toughest schools because it's not one school; it's multiple schools.
Absolutely one of the toughest pipelines in the entire DoD complex, and you know he like got after it. And then you know like everything that he's doing now, that's great stuff. I love it. He is a wonderful voice. And the reason he's such a wonderful voice is because right now he's saying he's not. Yeah. Like, that's the difference, is the guy that thinks that he's not the right voice, or the guy that thinks or a gal that thinks that she's not the right person, is absolutely the right person, because they represent the majority, the vast majority of people in that scenario.
You and I know enough people, which will stay nameless, that think they're the voice. That push themselves at the voice, take their 15 minutes and try to speak for everyone else and be that voice. And we and those of us in this community just shake our head and just walk away and just like, nah.
No, he's not out there trying to be Instagram famous. He's just trying to be him. He doesn't listen to the noise. He's actually out there doing it. He's doing it in a very unfriendly environment. Let's be honest, Hollywood is not a veteran-friendly environment.
Right.
This is not the days of yore. This is not Audie Murphy. This is not John Wayne, you know, pumping up the military community. No, this is, you know, there's very few guys that are successful in this community, and it's a short list. It's guys like Dale Dye that's been on the show. It's guys like Rudy Reyes. It's guys like him. It's, you know, like Tim Kennedy.
Mike Simpson. Right.
You know, like David Bellavia, you know, is like starting to inch into that. You know, it is a tough community to be respected and recognized in. And he's doing a great job. And he's doing it with class, and I love it. And I love the fact that we were able to talk about real things versus just, you know, I'm sure he gets pressers all the time like, hey, tell us about the show. You know, like.
Yeah, we went back a day. We didn't even get into Special Ops Mission. I wanted to get into that because I loved that show. I think it was only on for a season, but I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, it was a great show with an amazing demographic, except that demographic doesn't pull the numbers.
Right.
But I got to bring attention, you know, I know we don't have a ton of time, but I got to bring attention to the fact that you are wearing the chocolate chips.
Yes.
You have the wrong undershirt.
It's a U2 shirt. What's better for the 80s?
No, like Joshua Tree, man.
Yeah. That's from
God's country.
That's right.
Because that's where you could end up, because you got a letter in the email.
Yeah.
They got to teach cadences.
So I gotta,
they gotta change cadences.
Yeah, how do you roll email in there?
Got a letter in the mail. You gotta be like, got a letter in the email.
Yeah, no, they gotta drop another note in there. So I am wearing this. We were talking, myself, and our good buddy Doug, who goes by Shard, who is always on the show, just left a second ago. We were talking about it because I did get a letter in the mail. And it was an email this week. I couldn't believe it. Doug even thought that it was the Duffel blog or something, but no, they are the Department of the Army, not the New York National Guard, not the National Guard Bureau. The Department of the Army emailed all retirees, I think just retirees, that's all I've known that's got it, and asked, hey, you want to come back in to help us fight the virus? Now, Toby, I thought, surely they put a filter on it, like anyone that's retired before this date do not include. No. I retired in 2009. That was 11 years ago, right? 11 years ago? And I was on that list. And they said, and I first got it, and I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, they're looking for 68 whiskeys, military, doctors, medics, all this stuff. Yeah. And then it was like, and if you don't have any of those skills, email us. We're still interested. Let us know what you like to do. And I was like, wow, when you retire, there's a certain time period they could come back and get you. And then you kind of pass, you're like, there's no way, right? Nothing's going to happen. And obviously there's nothing happened war-wise. This pandemic has caused so many firsts for our not only our country, our globe, right? We've seen so many things we never thought we would ever see in our lifetime. Well, I'm adding this one to the list. Did my Department of the Army, my beloved Army, email me and say, hey, would you like to come back? Now. So I broke out the old uniform, one of many old uniforms, but this was kind of a rare one because it didn't last long in the Army inventory. It came out for a short time period, Desert Storm, and disappeared not too long after that. I guess they realized the pattern didn't work well. Commonly referred to, right, as the chocolate chip cookies, the cookie chip, with double first cab patch in OD green because you didn't have to match. Right? We're talking double cab patch, right? Probably was sewn on in Saudi Arabia, more than likely. I don't know. Actually, probably was sewn on Saudi Arabia, to be honest. This probably was right there at Khobar Towers. So I thought I'd bring this one out because it still fits. I can put it on, and I think I can still pass a PT test. But I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm not sure.
It's a new PT test.
What?
It's a new test now.
I'm grandfathered into the old test, like grandfather. Pun intended.
Because you're a grandfather.
Yeah. So I think I'm not sure what they're going to have me do, but here's what I know, Toby, is every pandemic, virus, close encounters of the third kind, anything dealing with apocalyptic scenes in a movie, always has that National Guard dude with the steel pot, M16A1, and BDUs with LBE buttoned up, perfectly fastened near the back of a deuce and a half, just waving traffic through. Right,
my boyfriend.
I don't know if they'd have me do that, if that's good, but I could see myself. I mean, I don't have a steel pot anymore, but they have to break that out. But I could buckle up there and just be, holding traffic and guiding the scientist through that's going to save the world. I don't know. We'll see. Right. Or I'm going to kick in doors and take people out that are all sick and turning into zombies. One of the two.
No, like you're wearing the uniform that made Storm and Norman famous.
Met that guy over there. Met him. Yeah.
No. Like, I wish I had, man. I wish I had. That would have. That's definitely something I'd have wrote in my diary. That dude had. That was a great American.
So this uniform saw light today for the first time since my retirement ceremony in 2009. It has not seen light since then.
When the cameras flared up and I saw you on my screen here, I was like, oh shit, man. I wonder if I actually have my war uniforms. And
Rob's gonna loan me a steel pot.
Bosnia, and I'm like, yeah, man, I might have my Bosnia uniforms. Yeah. I don't know. I gotta dig into that box.
Yeah.
I definitely have the Foot Locker that I had in Bosnia. I don't know if I have any uniforms I had from Bosnia, which would be cool. But it's so funny. Like one of my favorite people on earth, Christy Kortner, she texted me yesterday and she's like, hey, did you get an email? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she mentioned, people getting retirees getting the email to call them back. And I was like, oh no, like, what are you talking about? Like, really? Like, that's a thing? And then like 10 minutes later, you were like, hey bro, what's up? Check this out. And I was like, damn it, I've been losing weight. I like, invite me, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like, rested, I can shoot. But it's not a shooting that they need us to come back for. It's
handling the apocalypse or whatever it's going to be. Yeah.
Something else. But hey, great show tonight, my man. Like,
yeah. Dropped
Will on. Good job, unpaid producer. You know, like, I got to give him more shirts or something.
Yeah, yeah. Not a Navy SEAL too, so I'm just saying. But yeah, dropped more F-bombs tonight than we did probably in the last 2 years. I'll give you that.
Did we?
Yeah. Yeah, you just rolled. You did most of the talking. I just let you roll with it. It was just like you and he and I were just sitting around shooting shit, and it was just coming out. It was just like I was like,
well,
boom.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, yeah. Which most of our guests and interviews we do, people walk away and they say that, right? They're like, that was comfortable. That was the best interview. You know, we don't ask the
top 5.
One, we're not professionals. We're Bush League, so we interview like we're Bush League.
100% Bush League,
right? So
double A. Best.
You know, the best we got is an unpaid producer. He's not in the green room. He's not next door. We're in 2 separate parts of the country. We got him there correcting us and feeding us info, but we don't have all that. So we just have you give us your Skype name. We bring you in. We talk to you, and yeah, we're just don't worry about all these other people watching and listening. So, anyways, it was a great show. It was a great one, and I think probably one of our top. I think we definitely having him back. He said I didn't get the politics yet. We didn't even get to there, so we definitely got to have him back on. You know, it's
All right, well let's go for 5 more minutes.
Okay. What you got, a rant?
Yeah, I got a quick one.
Okay.
So, divisiveness. I want to talk about divisiveness, and I want to talk about, like us acting awry in these unique times. So, I'm a small business owner. I don't think that's much of a secret. I'm a Canadian. I don't think that's much of a secret, and I'm here in America because I love the Bill of Rights, and I believe that the Bill of Rights is the greatest thing. And if you're not familiar with the Bill of Rights and you're an American, shame on you. Do push-ups. It's the first 10 amendments. But the Constitution of the United States of America is the most unique thing that you could possibly ever imagine in terms of politics. And I think it's one of the greatest things that you could ever imagine. That's why I'm here. I'm proud of where I'm from. I love where I'm from. I love everyone that I know where I'm from. But I also know that above all that, there's this really neat thing called the Constitution of the United States. And it really separates people because of what it protects you from. And, like, God bless the Queen, long live the Queen, God save the Queen. She doesn't allow freedom of speech. All right?
Right.
Yeah. The reason there's the First, the Second, and the Third Amendment is because the King, now the Queen, didn't protect her people or his people. And then when you talk about the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth, the Seventh, the Eighth, and the Ninth amendments, that's because we actually have to look out for our people and for them individually for their best interest, despite the greater good. And man, we're going through this time. I'm talking to my sister. I talked to my sister today. She lives in Liverpool, and she's, she works for the constabulary there, which is an essential service. Like, I don't know if everyone's talking about essential services right now, but, law enforcement is an essential service. She's, unfortunately, she deals with some autoimmune issues, and that makes her compromised. So like she has to limit what she can and can't do. But everywhere in the world, like I'm watching, a girl that's basically my sister as well, over in Mallorca in Spain. I'm watching my sister Suzanne in Liverpool. I'm watching my brother in Canada. We're all talking. We're communicating.
Right.
And, we're all facing this together globally, and we're all dealing with things differently. But, like, America is, like, doing a really good job. And people are bitching about shit. And they're bitching about the things that they feel like they're being shortchanged from. Yeah. And yeah, I'm a small business owner. I've made some investments, and yeah, I have definitely watched my wealth diminish. And I use the word wealth loosely.
Loosely, right?
But I've looked at my value. However the IRS wants to look at it, however anyone wants to look at it, diminish. But we are, like, doing a great job. We're doing great things. We got leadership that's actually stepping up and facing this. And I got to tell you, like, I've watched for the first time, I think, in my entire time understanding the American political system, being involved in the American political system, it doing what it's supposed to do. And I'm talking about the Senate. I'm talking about them coming up with a relief package. I'm talking about them working out a deal. And I got to tell you, all I've seen out of the Senate specifically is people talking about how a deal was reached, how concessions were made, and how deals were met.
Yep.
And I understand that is not easy. I've tried to do business. I've worked in business. I've done different things where people have sat at a table and tried to come to a collective agreement, and it hasn't been good. It has never been to the benefit of all. But I honestly feel and believe wholeheartedly that that's what happened in the past week in the Senate. People put party lines aside. People looked at the reality of business. They looked at the reality of household finance. They looked at the reality of the plight of the American worker. And they were like, how do we best deal with the challenges we're facing? And they did that. And it was not easy. And they called in the greatest experts that the world had to offer, sought their counsel, applied their counsel, and from that, they came with what they felt was a wonderful opportunity to restart the American economy.
Yep.
Now, the American economy was right here. An earthquake happened. A gap has been created. And on the other side, the ground is kind of level. But we need to build a bridge across that. And they kind of, like, in their meetings and their deliberations and their understanding and their research, came up with the vehicle to create that bridge. Imagine this M60 tank, ATB bridge layer coming out and throwing something across that gap that was created by this earthquake. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, because people did that in the essence of togetherness, cohesiveness, the fruitfulness of America, a very small handful of people are like, fuck that. We don't like somebody. Fuck you. Here's all the F-bombs.
Yeah, you threw a few there. No, it's there are people.
Dude, it's so annoying.
Right. Well,
witness the immaturity of leadership.
Well, and we saw this deal almost not happen, and some different things happen, and people tried to add extra stuff in. And luckily, I say luckily, and I use that term almost ironic, but luckily the situation is so bad that some of those that are super hard one way or another they were forced to put their partisan feelings aside, and on both sides, and say we just have to compromise, right? And it wasn't the deal. Nobody got everything they wanted, but they all knew, thankfully, because the whole country and the whole globe is in duress right now, especially our country financially, that they and the people, and we were watching the the jobless claims, and we know all they were going to hit and go through the roof, and we see the people being laid off. I don't think I can't imagine anyone doesn't know someone that has lost their job in the last 2 weeks. I know of several in every kind of industry you can imagine, right? And God and God bless those that had to make that call to put people out of work. But right?
I've you know the industries that I'm involved in. Right. You know, like my financial situation. You know that we've had to have hard conversations with employees.
Right.
And like, dude, this is like the greatest moments and the proudest moments of our lives are taking on employees and
providing for a livelihood. Yeah. The
harshest of moments are failing them.
But what gets me is I hear some people say that complain about being a center or having to go to work. It's like, you have a job, right? And you're not going to have to weigh on a government handout. Be glad you're one of the folks that can still, have a job and get a paycheck, because people that 3 weeks ago never thought they'd be out of work. They work in a great industry. And I'm not talking hotel or restaurant or waiter. I'm talking there's full companies shutting down, right? This. And,
IT.
Right.
The fastest growing industry in the world, all of a sudden, like, nope.
Right.
No, like.
And it took all that, though. It took that. It's almost not to equate it to 9/11, but when you look at it from this perspective,
let's equate it.
How that brought this country. Everyone forgot politics. Everyone forgot partisanship. Everyone came together and rallied around the flag, and they rallied around the goodness of this country, and honestly, in this case, the goodness of and the country at 9/11, the globe on 9/11. A lot of those countries rallied around us. We saw, if people think back, we remember a lot of countries rallied around us. But in this case, every country is kind of going through this. They're all having to deal with it their own. No one's really bailing anyone else out. Every country's suffering from this, whether they admit it or not, because there's a lot out there that are not. But our country is saying, hey, did we never think that we were going to pass 96-0, a $2 trillion flipping bailout bill, right? When you think about what we were talking about a month ago, or 2 or 3 months ago, when we were talking about, Ukraine and Russia and Senate committee hearings and Avenatti and Stormy Daniels and all that shit. This is a good example of how all that stuff's first world problems. None of that stuff matters. This is what matters: the livelihood and the health of human beings and our fellow citizens. And so we've taken drastic measures. We've built that bridge. We can only hope that people will not take advantage of this, and this country can bounce back and rebound in a way that will shock this globe, not this country, but this globe, to shock this globe in a way that this whole thing hitting us so fast has shocked us. And that's what we can pray for. So
my last thing on this, because we've been going for a minute, my last thing on this is industry are showing their true colors. And when I say that, I'm saying it in the perspective and through the lens that the media, who have just been completely unfair through this entire scenario. Yeah, and I'm saying that. And I'm not a big Trump fan. Everyone that knows me knows that. They've been unfair. And they've been unfair because, they are trying to blame a pandemic on a guy that had nothing to do with it, that came from another country, and a country that has absolutely lied and done everything they possibly could on that. So, with that said, when you have major media outlets saying that we are no longer going to share the President of the United States broadcasts because we don't like him, that demonstrates you are biased, you're not objective, and you're not journalism. What's suffering from this, and what will continue to suffer from this, is mainstream media. People are losing confidence in them. It doesn't matter if you like Fox. It doesn't matter if you like MSNBC or CNN or whatever channel you watch. People are going to stop watching that because they no longer have the faith and confidence that actually the news is being reported. Let's look at the C-SPAN numbers for the last week. The C-SPAN numbers have been through the roof. Now let's, dumb that down a little bit. They're through the roof, one, because there's a lot of people with time on their hands.
Yeah.
Two, they're like accepting it because like there's no commentary. There's no commentary on C-SPAN. There's no editorializing. There's just like, here's the camera, here's the person speaking into the camera, here's the message. And then people are like, oh, like, you just said that? Well, that's retarded. Yeah, I just said that word. Because, like, that's what it is. It's the retardation of information. It's the misrepresentation of it. It's not as it should be. It is dumbed down so that you can, like, be patronized. And people are seeing that, and they're like, oh, wait, like, we had the opportunity to, like, help people a week ago, and we're not doing that now. And it doesn't matter what people grandstand on. Like, all of a sudden, that onion's peeled back, that veil's pulled up, and it's like, oh, you're an ugly person. I don't want to marry you. Right. Yeah, I'm that superficial.
Yeah. No, but I mean, they're seeing it, right? They're seeing. That's why we're seeing the president is seeing approval ratings. I mean, people would think with this economy, I thought for sure his approval ratings, they're 60+% because of being a leader handling a crisis, and it could have been handled every which way, right? There's no playbook for this. It could have been handled however, right? But obviously people are looking at it going, hey, all that other stuff is just noise about investigations and this and said this and maybe he slept with this lady back in the day and paid her off, whatever. And they're looking at this going, how do I, as a person trying to raise a family, live, survive, make money, be a productive citizen, and this thing impacting it, what is my federal government doing to help me out and to help correct this? And by help me out doesn't just mean send me a check on April 6th for $3,000, because that's not going to cut it forever, right? But it's everything that's going in place. Like you said, we're seeing industry retool themselves. We have a Tesla plant here in Buffalo that has shut down, that has just reopened just to make ventilators. Musk himself said, as fast as he can, he's making ventilators. You have the pillow guy making face masks. You have,
This is without being told.
Without being told
to do.
Right. Whiskey distilleries and places like that making hand sanitizer, stopping what they're doing to make that. Now, let's be honest, right? They're the market for some of that stuff. Well, most liquor stores are still considered essential, but the market for a lot of that stuff is still there. But they're doing it because it's the right thing to do for our country, regardless of who they vote for.
No, like this is exactly right. And right now, one of the texts that's going on that I absolutely love right now is Mitchell Bell, Taco. For those of you in the Mill Blog community, everyone knows Taco, great Marine, great pilot, works for American Airlines. He just got back from a special charter that American Airlines did down in Guatemala to get Americans out of Guatemala. And, here's an industry that's like sucking, right? The airline industry is getting beat up just as bad as anybody else right now. If not worse. In fact, if you want to look at amount per day, hundreds of millions of dollars per day that they're taking a straight prison shank in the showers on. And, but they're still like, oh, we got available planes, we got pilots. Let's send them to go get Americans in places like Guatemala. This is what makes America great. We got to get Taco on. We got to talk to Taco about this.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love the stuff that is happening. I love the fact that people are retooling factories to make respirators, that there's 3D printers around the world banding together to print these things as fast as they can, that there's this $100 million mask. My daughter, asked, we went to Joann Fabrics, shout out to my mini-me, because, she's got a sewing machine and, she's learning about sewing and she's really into that stuff. And she's like, hey, among the other things that I can make for myself right now, hey, maybe I can make 10 to 15 masks. Can we go get the materials to go do that? I love how everyone's coming together about this. It shows the greatness of the American people. And when people do bullshit, like what we saw, like, hey, we're going to grandstand, we're going to delay because we need to.
Right.
I read 1,118 pages of crap the other day because I was like, I really want to know what they're trying to push through in case I got to call somebody and say, hey, I think, as my little voice is, that this is a bad idea. Like, I can't believe the crap that they were trying to shove through as part of this relief package. Like, I can't.
Yeah. It was.
Like,
I know that. I mean, they got some stuff through,
but it's mind blowing. And we got people like figuring out how to get planes to Guatemala. We're figuring out how to get people out of Morocco. We're figuring out how to like retool factories to build ventilators. We're figuring out how to build masks. All of a sudden, masks are being found in storage units that, which is also disgusting. But like, the bottom line is people are realizing, they're coming together and like, let's fix this. Let's make this a better experience. Let's save humanity the best that we can. And then we got people like, oh, let's capitalize on this,
right?
Because it's a partisan issue, and we really dislike this one guy.
Well, remember last week I said, we talked about it, I said, hey, we know we are about to see with the onset was coming. It was coming on. We said, like in other big disasters thing we saw, I said we're going to see the worst. We're going to see the worst of people in this.
Yeah.
And we're going to see the best of people in this. And I'll be honest, I'll say it right here. I knew we would see the best of people in this. I did not expect it to be this fast and this strong in what we've seen come out of our country and industry and companies and everything else in the last week. We have companies that are hiring like Domino's, 7-Eleven, the dollar stores that, you know what? They're just cranking up because they're staying open and they're saying, hey, we can help give people jobs. So it's not just, hey, I'm going to make stuff and put it in there. They're trying to open up and try to give people some kind of a paycheck. And feed a little bit to them. So, I think that is, again, I knew it was going to come out. We've all seen it from 9/11 to tornadoes hitting Nashville to big fires in California. We see the best of people rise up. Yeah. We see bravery and courage. What we're seeing here is bravery and courage on a national and industrial and business level that I don't think this globe and definitely our country's never seen. And I think that's what just gives us a lot of hope. So, anyways, the bottom line is we all know this is a temporary thing. We've had a lot of bad things happen in our lives. It always comes and goes. We're going to get past this and we'll deal with the outcome. And then eventually one day everything will be good and we'll be back here in the same crap and we'll be back to here in first world problems that don't matter. And we'll be worrying about what Avenatti got served in jail and all that kind of good stuff and what the Kardashians are doing or whatever else is happening. So anyways, we kept you guys a long time tonight. We almost went 2 hours, Toby. So I think we should wrap this one up. What do you think?
Let's get out.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get my stuff spooled up here. There we go. Get my music spun up. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It was thank you, Wil Willis, for coming on. Rob, the unpaid producer, another great guest. And Toby, glad you're doing well. Hope you're healthy. Hope all of our fans and listeners are healthy.
Living the dream.
Keep that social distance going. Keep washing those hands. Do the right thing. Don't hoard stuff. And like I said, look out after your neighbors that are elderly or people that don't get out much, and check on them. See if they need you to pick something up. Go out. And like Will said, if you're thinking about somebody you haven't talked to in a while, give them a call. Nothing better than that.
Time to call them.
Yep. All right, everybody. You have a good night. We'll see you guys next Thursday here on Stew and the Nunn. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stew and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.